Hey everyone, it's Wade and Ryan here. Time for another NFL in London podcast. This time we are doing our week 3 in review. What a week 3 it was. We had some great games. We had some stinker games. We did talk about the Bills and their beatdown, so we don't need to cover that game. But let's get into some of the other games that we
You
did see.
don't really need to talk about the next game either, probably. Probably just skip that. Bills Saints. It's going to be a barn burner on Sunday.
Oh, that one coming up this weekend. Well, week 4, we'll do that in our next podcast.
We'll do
We'll
it
talk
next.
about some of the we'll do some of the games we talked about. Let's how about them Browns? How about them Browns? The field goal. The Browns defense comes up in action here. 13-10. The Browns get a home victory. The Packers, who are feted to win all of these games, lose to the Browns. This game was a matter of defense. Jordan Love didn't look that good. Quashon Judkins was looking good, 94 yards for them. But it was the Browns defense, Myles Garrett, who was just harassing this whole time. Great game in terms of if you love to see the Packers lose, which I do.
Yeah. Did you feel? I know you finally picked the Packers, and this is what happens, right?
I know. So I'm never going to bet against the Packers. I'm never going to bet for the Packers again. So
back to my old ways.
Yeah.
A few things. I feel like, the Browns D is no joke. This team has had a great defense for a couple of years now. I think last year was just such a disaster. And Joe Flacco is still a disaster. Like 21-36 for 142 yards. Like I know the Pack have a good defense, but I'm sorry, but like if your rookie quarterback had those numbers, you'd be like, all right, yeah, we won. You'd feel good about it. How do you feel good about this? How have they not switched yet? I feel like Joe Flacco doesn't bring you any benefit. Like if I won that game with Shador or the other guy they got, I would feel so much better about this victory. I would still be annoyed, even though I won this game, that I have to watch Joe Flacco play quarterback for my team because it's pointless. Get this guy some reps. I know you've been seeing some other quarterbacks flailing, and maybe it's because of like how JJ McCarthy's looked and some of the other that they're afraid to. But let the rookie get some time with Quinshon Judkins. He looks great. The Fannin, the tight end, looks really good.
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman's coming on. The Njoku's fine. Again, they got weapons. I feel that the Browns just have this like almost like Super Bowl level quality defense. And the problem is by the time the offense catches up, that defense is going to be old or gone.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be like starting over. So I don't know what they're just delaying this by another year, just making their team another year older. For the Packers,
are you really going to replace them though when they get a win? I mean, you could put in Dylan Gabriel, you could put in Shadir Sanders, but you probably won't until you start losing because now it's going to validate the fact, we made the right decision.
You were
granted,
losing before, but
yeah, they were, and they could have lost it had Love not been an idiot. The Packers, it was their game to lose, and they lost it.
Yeah, listen, these games happen. They're a bit of like you buy the hype. The hype train's so over the top. So they were probably like everyone's survivor bet. They're just going to stomp them. And these games happen. Like I remember the Bills lost to Urban Meyer's Jags like 9-6.
Yeah,
one a couple years ago, and sometimes these games you just the Ravens last year lost to the Raiders in week 2, right?
Yeah.
Like these things happen. It's a bit early. My biggest concern, and always has kind of been my concern, is I just don't think the Packers have good receivers. I think Dobbs is fine. I don't think Dontarian Wicks gives you really anything, and we're still waiting on Matthew Golden. Rookies take like another year. The only ones I have like any sort of faith in is Tyler Croft. And he's the only guy Tucker Kraft, who looks
Tucker
like
Kraft,
he's, and Josh Jacobs, he's going against a tough defense with Mason Graham and that. So I think Jacobs will be fine. But to me, I if I'm Jordan Love, I need more out of my receivers. And Jordan Love's got to stop throwing back-breaking interceptions at the worst times, because that one he threw at the end was terrible. Then the block, it was just I was watching it with our friend Andre, and you're just watching this, like the snowball was just getting bigger as it kept going down the mountain, and you're just like sitting there as its shadow engulfed you as you looked up, about to be crushed.
Yeah.
It was an ugly game, but these games happen. Luckily, they have the Dallas Cowboys, who rushed through for 400 yards again, so I think they're going to be fine.
That should be fine, but it is, it is foreshadowing when you have a quarterback who still makes really bad decisions. And you can put him into a system or whatever the system it is, but he still, if he's falling behind, will do bone-ass stupid things. Let's talk about bone-ass stupid things. We'll head to Atlanta, where Penix was just horrific. Uh, get the big donut. Panthers 30, Falcons 0. Not a lot of people would have expected this, but Penix just looked absolutely horrific. He looked like he was lost. He looked like he had no idea what he was doing. 3 interceptions in the first half. Penix was 18 for 36, 2 interception, 172 yards. But it was, Carolina just got it done. They were just able to sort of choke these guys out and make, Atlanta look really horrible, which they were.
Yeah, it was, this is the shocker, definitely shocker of the week. Even actually, no, Packers game was shocker of the week. This is probably second, but it was just the number itself, 30-0, and the Falcons now fired their receivers coach, the old, oh no, we got to throw someone under the bus. Let's throw the receivers. And to be fair, Drake London has looked a shadow of himself. I kind of thought this is going to be the year, Drake London took off, near the end of last year. Penix was kind of targeting him like crazy, and they know Drake London had some of his best games near the end of the season when Penix came in. They still can't really get the running game. They had it going. Everyone thought this was going to be the game. Bijan was going to take off, and the problem was your biggest weapon is Bijan, but when you're down 30-0, you can't really use them that much because you're trying to kind of get the clock back. And I think another thing is having Kirk Cousins behind him. I don't know how beneficial this is to Penix.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to lose his job, or they're going to go back. But a couple more games like this, you might have to sit down. Maybe that's why they kept him, because they just wanted to kind of be sure. But I just think that just it doesn't feel like it's Penix's team, and I think you got to either just hand him the keys and just let him go with it. But I mean, Bryce Young didn't even do anything. He was 16-24 for 121, right? This wasn't oh, did you see what Bryce did? He was just dominating. None of this. Chuba Hubbard, 73. It was just mistake football by Atlanta. And, I mean, it's concerning because I thought they were going to be better than this. And losing 30-0 against the Carolina of all teams is definitely a concern. If I'm Raheem Morris and this coaching staff, especially, you got to get this offense going.
Yeah, it does remind me of a bit of Carolina last year, where they gave Bryce the keys to the car, and look what happened. They end up replacing with Andy Dalton. He sits, he gets whispered under Andy Dalton. He comes back a whole different quarterback. Maybe it's going to be that Penix needs to be benched, and you put Kirk Cousins in. You go, okay, just let Daddy take care of this for a little bit, and once he screws up, you can take over.
Yeah, but the only reason that Bryce went back in is because Dalton got in a car crash, going to the stadium or something like that, or the day before. So they had to put Bryce back in, and then he looked good because they were probably not going to go back to him. And it's one of those things you see with Richardson. Once you pull him, it's hard to go back. There's very few that get pulled, come back, and retake the reins. It's a real tough call to do. So, there's a lot of guys in that boat this year.
Well, let's keep on the topic of bad quarterback, and where we head down to the Texans, where they lost 17-10 to the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence was 6 for 7 in the first little bit. He looks good, and then just tanks it up. It was a comedy of errors. It was just idiocy. Interception. Stroud, 25 for 38, 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And Trevor Lawrence has 1 interception, 20 for 40, 222 yards. Just both middling. They just both look like they were just sort of, And you'd think, when you're watching the Colts put up all these kind of points and the way that they're moving, you'd want to keep pace. And it didn't look like either of these teams could keep pace, as the Texans are 0-3, and things are starting to get ugly for them.
I know, right? And it's just their offensive line. It's just there's nothing Stroud could do, especially now going into a contract. A lot of teams, give their guy a contract extension. It's I don't know if I'm giving Stroud any money. Put that money towards the offensive line. Build it up. When he was good a couple of years ago, at least they had Tunsil, who was healthier. But to me, these are just two teams I want to continue to watch plummet. I don't want to see them anywhere near the playoffs. I much would rather see Daniel Jones in a million years playing quarterback in the playoffs than watching either of these two guys. I got Travis Hunter, does nothing. Brian Thomas Jr., I think, doesn't want to play football anymore, playing with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence he
got a touchdown near the end, but still.
But still, it's as bad as it's get. And I just don't see I see CJ Stroud getting better because I think it's an offensive line thing. more than it's anything because we've seen him be good. I don't know if we've even seen Trevor Lawrence be good. They made the play. They had a couple, but he gets injured, and now he's fully healthy with full weapons at his arsenal. Liam Cohen, a coach who kind of brought Baker back from the dead. And this is what we get: 17 points a game. They got a good defense. Don't get me wrong, both teams. But like I said last week, I'm done. I'm out on the Jacksonville Jaguars completely, and I'm 100% out on CJ Stroud until he gets some more weapons. You can only throw to Nico Collins so many times, and they have no one else.
And I mean their offense, the offensive line is nothing there. You're seeing even Chubb getting slammed, not even be able to take a few yards. He has no protection on him. The defense can only do so much to keep them up. It's just the Jaguars are just meh. They're just okay. Let's head into the next battle of the AFC, which was the Colts, who Daniel Jones is the second coming of Daniel Jones. It was Jonathan Taylor, who everyone's really talking about, 3 touchdowns, thumping of the Titans, which we thought would happen, 41-20. Taylor gets 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones, 18 for 25, 225 yards and a touchdown. He's getting the job done. Pittman had 73 yards and a touchdown. The defense is there. The offensive line is there. And the Colts are now 3-0.
You know what? They're fun. Hey, they put up points. Look at them. They're getting 30. Daniel Jones is doing stuff like Andrew Luck's never done. Like the fact that I think they went the first 2 games, didn't even punt, which I don't think they've done. They haven't turned it over yet in 3 games. They're just playing absolute mistake-free football. And again, they're beating up on. In fact, I still got to see Daniel Jones up against someone, with a good defense.
We will this weekend. They're playing the Rams this weekend.
It feels like who have they beaten up? They beat up on the Dolphins, and I don't remember who the first team was, but again, they weren't good. This is a bad Titans team, and Cam Ward, threw a terrible, I think was it like a pick 6, like right off the bat. It was just. I don't know. And this is a team with no weapons for him. I thought, like anyone who thought Calvin Ridley was going to come back. 1 catch, 27 yards. Like this dude, go back to gambling. He should go back to gambling on games. Probably had a better career. Because again, look at I can't even pronounce the names of their first 2 receivers: Chigozim Okongwu and Eric Auramana. It's like I'm watching the Man City, trying to pronounce the Man City football team, and these are the number 1 receivers. No, don't get me wrong, they're looking good, but I'm sorry, but this is just a bad football team with a bad coach, and I just think it's going to get ugly for Cam Ward the rest of the season. And again, this is a team that probably going to have the top 5 pick, top 3 pick again this year. It's just a terrible division, and it's kind of the Colts' to lose unless Daniel Jones, turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah, I mean the Colts defense was all over him to start this game, and it was never close. And so it just demonstrative win. The Titans look bad; they're 0-3, and to your point, they who knows? Hope they're going to have to try to win a game this year. Maybe they can get one at the hand of the Texans, but it's very difficult to see them getting a win. It's also very difficult to see the Bengals winning again, with Joe Burrow most likely being out for the year. Vikings and Kirk Cousins take it. Isaiah Rodgers defense, pair of touchdowns on D. Vikings all over them. 48-10. This was it was a haphazard game. The Bengals look lost. It was 34-3 at half. I mean, this was a game that the Bengals couldn't even sniff anywhere of being close to it. But the Vikings, they get the win going. Wentz is looking good. And Vikings keep moving on in this one.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be one of those Carson Wentz reclamation projects. I think I can't imagine J.J. McCarthy gets the job back, especially, again, you beat up on a crappy Cincinnati team, a crappy defense. But, 14-20, 173, 2 touchdowns is better than Wentz has looked in probably any of the last 5 years. He's got he's got a good coach in O'Connell, who's like a good play caller. Look what he did with Darnold. So to me, again, this is Wentz's movie of the week, late night movie of the week, where he has to kind of the old man with one last shot, going for one last heist before he calls it a career. And I think he's got a shot to kind of be a competitor. And I think if he can just play mistake-free football, and Jordan Mason kind of took over Aaron Jones. They didn't miss a beat. He looked great, 116 yards.
2 touchdowns,
And to me, again, Cincinnati, like you said, it's over. It's over. This is another, you're going to be a top 10 team, then you're going to lose Hendrickson. So, and you're going to, who knows, why would you bring Burrow back if this is the way it's going to be? I don't see them really trading for anyone, but like a couple more games like this and the trade deadline comes up. I mean, the AFC is not that great. as great as I guess we thought it would be. I think it's quite open for that last playoff spot. And if you think like all we need to do is get Joe Burrow into the playoffs and he can win us, he can get us there because he did it before. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I say a couple more bad Jake Browning games, and I wouldn't be surprised if you look at them trying to, call for Cousins, looking for no Jameis, even Jameis.
Yeah.
I'd bring in Jameis
Sure.
over
Yeah,
Wentz
might as well.
so I could see, especially with Jackson Dart coming in, like, Jameis is just sitting there ready to be picked, and so he can do his little chicken
Picked
wing
off.
dance and picked off,
Yeah.
rip off a crab leg and just eat it. So it's Bengals. You're just in treading water territory until you do something, or you just call it a season.
Yeah. Let's head to New England, where turnovers were the slate of the day. Ramondre Stevenson again, fumbleitis hands. 5 turnovers against this one. Aaron Rodgers, 2 touchdowns. Steelers went 21-14. Aaron Rodgers, he's only 139 yards, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns. They get it. It wasn't a big game, but what they did do is get this ball out of New England's hands. And, you got to, in some ways, blame the coach on this one. There's so much fumbles. There was just bad play calling, and the Patriots didn't look like they could do anything offensively in this game.
I know these are the games where like Pittsburgh always makes the playoffs because they win these really crappy, ugly games. You're never gonna have to watch Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Everyone's gonna be like, is he gonna have the magic to do one last final run? And then he's gonna play like this for 130 yards. He just dumps it off. All he does is just dump it off. He doesn't really have any real weapons, to be honest. His receiver, I think 2 games in a row, his top receiver has been his running back. He's just all he does. He doesn't want to get hit. The Patriots just kind of did this themselves. Ramondre's fumbled, an ungodly amount of times in his career. I think it's like
when you got Trayvon Henderson, why don't you just give it to Henderson with safe hands?
I think everyone in fantasy's been like, where are my rookies at? Like every rookie has just kind of been who everyone thought was just going to come in. Trayvon Henderson. I think now is going to be his chance. Like he's going to have a moment to get more carries because that was Patriots' game to win. They had that game. 5 turnovers and you only lose by 7. To me, that's more of an indictment on Pittsburgh than it is on than the Patriots. But I think Drake May, until he has more weapons, his receivers are terrible. Like they're not good.
Yeah.
And he needs better receivers. Like Hunter Henry or Ramondre cannot be, 3 catches, 38 yards as your second best receiver. Where's Stephon Diggs, 3 for 23? Like you're paying 17, 18 million for this. I know he's coming off an injury, but the Patriots, it was great to get an offensive line, but Drake, you got to get Drake May some weapons and maybe a trade deadline trade or something. But this is what you're
some
going
play
to
calling too. Yeah, but the fumbles and it's the discipline you got to work on, and you got to hold on to that ball. And 5 turnovers was just embarrassing. You're never get anywhere with those kind of turnovers in a game. Let's head into the game of the week as far as I saw, the Rams and Eagles. Rams got a big lead at this one. They're playing. You're like, they're not going to be weak. It's 19-7 going into the half, and then Jalen Hurts is able to throw the ball around. But to me, it's right the kickoff. It's the field goal at the end, and I'm sitting at a bar with a bunch of people, and I go, the only way I can lose this is if something stupid happens. And gosh darn it, something stupid happened. Field goal is blocked. It's run back, and a thriller in overtime. Jordan Davis, 33-26. Exciting game. I think the Rams fans and the Rams themselves were sitting there going, how the hell did we let this game go? Because the Eagles just were able to come back. You had them down. You had the foot on the throat. It seemed like this game was going to be over. And then the Eagles put 14 points in the third, another 7, or another 12. 26 points in the second half of the game. How do you allow 26 points in the second half?
Yeah, it was over, right? If they had this game, and if they would have won, you would have been saying, like, are the Rams the real kind of number one threat? They would have had all the story. They'd have been 3-0, looking good. They did look good, man. Like, I'm telling you, like, Kyron Williams had a good game, especially like a team you're not supposed to be able to run at. So 94 yards. To me, they just kind of like Jalen Hurts really had a great second half, just saying, like, put it in his hands. They let him throw it, all this talk. Saquon's, if anyone's been a disappointment, it's been Saquon this year. He hasn't been able to kind of get those long bursts and the big hits. You finally got AJ Brown involved, and your team's better. When I don't know why that they got so obsessed with being this running team. That's like you still have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. Use those guys. And to me, this is just a failure of the Rams. They were conservative punting at the end, punting in Philadelphia territory, not going for field goal, like going for field
Yeah.
goals instead of for first downs. They kind of threw this upon themselves. And again, Puka Nakua, I'm just going to start taking him bets, his prop bets every week. Dude is just a target machine, like
Yeah.
10 catches almost every game. But and the only funny story is just how that, yeah, people who thought they were going to win their bet. This is the ultimate, like those old Proline commercials from the day in Canada, where you're like, "I'm a winner." Then all of a sudden, it's like someone parachutes onto the field and the field goal gets
Yeah.
blocked by it. It's kind of like that sort of stuff. So, great if champions win these games. That's just kind of, you saw it with the Chiefs, you see it with the Bills, you see it with, the Bills aren't champions. It's basically, you see it with the Chiefs, and they're just kind of, they find ways to get blocked field goals when it matters, and man, give them credit. They won.
Yeah. And
Give them
let's
the
talk about
credit.
another team that finds ways to win, and that's Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. They come to a thrilling victory, 29-27. Tyrod Taylor trying to get this game going for them, playing with heroics, but it's Baker. The Jets put in 21 points in the second half. Mike Evans has left. It doesn't look like he'll be back for a while. But the Jets put on an inspired performance. Tyrod Taylor, 26 for 36, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Baker, 19 for 29, 1 touchdown, 233 yards. But you can just see he's got that Tom Brady. When he focuses his laser eyes and closes them, he's coming back on you.
Yeah, it's. I still don't even know how it got this close, to be honest with you. This game was, from watching it and seeing it on the screen, it was over. It felt like it was over for like literally.
It's 20-6 at the half, and you think, okay, it's done.
Like you said, they got 21 in the fourth quarter alone. So it's just like
Yeah.
the Bucs did everything they could to try and lose this, but then the Jets are like, "Don't worry, hold my beer. No one loses games. We lose the game. It's not you." So like again, Baker looked good, but 1 touchdown. He did lose Evans, but luckily this week he should get Godwin back. So I feel like that's like kind of a good exchange. Bucky Irving, again, and Mbuka is kind of the story of their team. The defense, giving up 27 to the Jets is not great. Like, this is a team that had like 20 yards against the Bills. So the Bucks D's getting a bit injured, and so they're going to have to kind of shoot it out. So I think it's a lucky win by the Bucks. And Jets are just kind of, they're a couple tiny breaks from being 2-1, a terrible 2-1, but still 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it was some luck on Baker's side. They were able to get the bounces, but Baker's able to rally and they get the win. It wasn't that way in Las Vegas, where Geno Smith threw for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, but still loses to Marcus Mariota, who I bet would get an anytime touchdown, and he did. 41-24 in this one. It was the defense that sort of came up for them. The Washington able to limit Ashton Genty again to less than 50 yards running. But it was Trey Tucker. 3 touchdowns, 2 of 3 touchdowns late in the game.
Yeah.
Who's looking at the sort of QB or the wide receiver number 1 now for Washington, or sorry, the Raiders. But another loss for the Raiders, another tough loss. Washington, with Jaden Daniels injured, they still got a win, much needed win for them to keep on pace in the NFC East.
Yeah, I know, and to lose because it was realistically, it was like 41-10. In the fourth quarter until they got 2 garbage touchdowns. Again, and to lose 41-10 to Marcus Mariota, against his old team, even though he's been on almost every team, it feels like. Again, with Terry McLaurin, who's kind of gotten injured, this is not even like a great, McNichols, like a great offense. They don't. Yeah. So to them to be able to put up 41 without Geno, throwing pick sixes and stuff like that is just an indictment of just a poor, like, this Raiders team's a disaster a bit. Like, they got no. Right, they can get Genty going because they have no offensive line. They don't really have any weapons for Geno to throw to, other than Bowers, who's a bit banged up. So when that happens, and if your defense is going to give up 40, I'm sorry, Geno's not going to be able to win these kind of shootouts. So I just think this is just a Raiders team that's just not been put together properly. That's just going to find that they're going to be in a lot of games like this, and Geno will give you a bit more, competent quarterback play, but you're kind of still in Minshew Mountain in a way. You still kind of feel like this team's not that much different than the Minshew team, to be honest with you, because it's not as much the quarterback. It's more like the rest of the whole team. You got Max Crosby, which is nice, but you got no one really else on that defense. And the offense still needs work. Again, Tucker had a good game, but like you said, 90% of it was in the fourth quarter. So.
Yeah. Let's move on to another demonstrative game here as Seattle goes 2-1, demolishing the Saints 44-13. Torrey Horton returned one for a punt return for 95 yards. He gets another touchdown. Sam Darnold, he's only 14 for 18, 218 yards, but still, got to be people in Minnesota going, what did we do? Why did we get rid of this guy? We could be doing all right with him. And Seahawks gets the running game. Their defense is looking good. They limit Kamara to 42 yards. And, there was nothing really that Spencer Rattler could do, especially not really having anything on his team. Smith and Jigba is still looking good, and Walker as well. It's Seattle keeps moving on and keeping pace in that division.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the Saints where they were quite competitive the first 2 weeks. You're like, hey, this team could be kind of have some fight in them. It could be at least kind of a fun year for the Saints. And now you got, big beatdown. Now you got Buffalo coming up on the road, which is going to be a nightmare for them. Again, Rattler's an 0 for 9 his career, just still looking for that first win of his career, which is, grim statistics. And to me, it just feels like if I'm the Saints, you're just going to have to go full rebuild. Like I could see Kamara does Kamara get traded to the Chiefs? Do they look for someone like that, which could be because that would solve a lot of their problems. He's getting a bit older. Olave, who actually looks quite good, I'd probably keep him, but you do have you got a couple good defensive players you get rid of, but to me, this is just more. I think the Saints now. This is kind of who they are. They're going to be. Once teams start getting it together, like Darnold and Mike McDonald and that defense, they were never going to move it on them. So I think it's gonna be tough sledding. But to me, it's not surprising. I think the Saints are the worst team in football, and I think they will continue to be the worst team in football.
Yeah, no, they were, and they weren't showing well, and obviously they're going to be looking for the draft next year. The Broncos were facing a lot of critics and not looking good, and they go into a divisional matchup against the Chargers, who have been looking good. At the half, it looked like the Chargers had this. It was 10-7. They were putting it away. Broncos rally, but the Chargers get the win in the end, 23-20. Omarion Hampton looked good in it because, obviously Najee Harris goes down with an Achilles injury. J.K. Dobbins tried to put it together for Denver with 83 yards. But, Justin Herbert hangs on, 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He's leading this team. He's got the confidence. Chargers are 3-0, and the Broncos are 1-2, and going to have to do some evaluations because taking a loss like this in the division, a tight one like this, got to be really tough on the psyche.
Yeah, and it's a Bo Nix problem again. He's 3 weeks in a row now. He just hasn't looked impressive. 153 yards. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is great, but how long is he going to last? I feel like you just. As someone who has his backup, R.J. Harvey, he's just kind of every week just waiting for the wheels to fall off J.K. Dobbins. It's more that I'm more impressed by like Quentin Johnson. I think the fact that Lab McConkey's now almost feels like he's the third receiver on this team when last year he was the only guy who could get open. Seeing more Quentin Johnson, you're still seeing Keenan Allen, still getting 7 for 65 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen, dude is just a monster as he gets older. It's amazing how many people just ignored him. I would have loved him to be on the Bills, to be honest. I'd love to have anyone who could catch 7 balls on my team. But the story is, Omarion Hampton now it looks like he's kind of got the job with Najee going down. Yeah. And to me, this is just the Broncos. I think they were a bit fraudulently overhyped. Like everyone's like, the Broncos. Like, what did they do? They're still the same offense. They still have Cortland Sutton as your best receiver. Don't really have a tight end. Your running back is a guy who's been injured at multiple torn ACLs. And your defense, as good as it is, got kind of lit up by Daniel Jones last week. And even now you gave up 300 to, Herbert's good. So you can't really do that. But I just think the Broncos are going to be in a tough fight to even make the playoffs this year. I think unless Bo Nix really steps it up, starts playing like Herbert, I don't think they have a chance in this division.
Yeah, and particularly when you have the desperation of the Kansas City Chiefs as well in that division, in that who doesn't want to be at the bottom? And, people I think have more faith in them, particularly since the Chiefs have got to play. They got a big game against the Ravens this weekend, so 2 1-2 teams, which we will talk about in the next podcast, but you want to keep pace with that. Keeping pace was something Chicago needed, and they did this beyond. Caleb Williams, 4 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb goes down with an injury. Comes back, he's not the same as he was. Javonte Williams has a fumble. Rome Odunze has a beautiful Odunze, sorry, has a beautiful catch when he shoves it off the line, gets separation, gets a touchdown. It was good. A lot of people thought this would be a shootout, but it wasn't. The Bears get the win, 31-14. Ben Johnson's feeling good. It's a bit of confidence, but it is only Dallas. So Bears, as a Bears fan, I'm happy we get the win, but it is Dallas.
Yeah, right. We saw Russ throw for 450 on him, right? And we'll talk about Russ coming up. But I think, this is just a confidence boost game. He needed it. Caleb looks good. I still think you have a terrible running game. DeAndre Swift is just not the guy. I don't know why everyone keeps trying to make this thing happen. Like, I'd rather see Monangai get some carries in there.
Yeah.
Not to, like,
he's a little small, but spread the ball
just
around.
To see if he has a bit of change of pace, because I don't think you're getting anything from Swift, and I think the best thing you could give Caleb is a competent running game. The reason why, Ben Johnson's offense works so well is because they had, Sonic and Knuckles. Because no one's worried about Goff. Or I think if you're not any means threatened by this running game, then they're going to be good defenses are going to be able to make Caleb's life a little bit more hell. So, he's got the Raiders this week. So I think Caleb's got a good chance to kind of stack some wins on top of another good performance. I think would do a lot for his confidence. But I think Rome Odunze is kind of now stepped up as the real number one. And DJ Moore is kind of like an afterthought in this team. Do you even do they get rid of him? Do they trade him while he's got some value? Because again, you got Odunze, you got Burden, you got his 100-yard game, his first one. Zacchaeus, who has his moments as a third. And it looks like DJ Moore is just not that happy with his new role, kind of being overshadowed after getting the contract. On the other side, Dallas, it's over. Unless, again, you lost CeeDee Lamb now for 3-4 weeks, high ankle sprain. He might come back, but he won't be the same. You got Dak's $60 million quarterback, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Devontae Williams still looks good, but I mean, it's over. I just don't. This defense is so bad, and even I don't think Micah Parsons would make any difference to this team. I think if he was out there, you might save 7 points, but you're still going to be 1-2, and you're still going to be getting lit up almost every single week. So, I think Dallas, maybe Jerry Jones realized we're a lot further away than I think, and he's just on the verge of maybe blowing this whole thing up. But at his age,
if they were a boy band, they'd be no direction.
Exactly. He might kill himself.
So they don't look anything. So I agree with you. Let's move on. Where a former Bear Eddie Pinheiro gets the win in a tight games. 49ers go to 3-0 as they beat the Cardinals 16-15. Last minute thriller, but not really a thriller of a game. Defensive minded. It was kind of an ugly game where you're sort of looking at it. Nick Bosa though goes down and he'll be gone. So a lot of poor decision making in some of this game, but it was a game of field goals in this game, 16-15.
Yeah, the worst medical staff in all of sports just loses another guy. I don't know what's going on. Just feeding these guys jelly beans or something instead of vitamins. But I mean, to me, again, there's probably, he had a bad injury from Connor. He looks like he's done for the year. So you've lost your number one, which I honestly don't think was that big of a loss. I don't think he was playing that great. But to me, the bigger concern is just Kyler Murray. This is, to me, what you're going to get out of Kyler Murray. 160 yards. He doesn't run anymore. So the one thing that kind of made him dynamic was the fact that he used to be able to be this guy, 6 for 37. It's not going to be good enough. And 159, Marvin Harrison is dropping wide open passes. This guy looks slow. He looks like he's completely washed in his second year, considering he was highly touted. Marvin Harrison is his dad, one of the greatest of all time. The only guy that's dependable on this team is Trey McBride. So to me, I just think you're going to see the Cardinals, 6-11, 7-10 at best. And then what are you going to just keep doing this with Kyler? I think this might be the last year of Kyler on the Cardinals because I feel like you've done it and you've tried it. What is this, year 8, 9 with Kyler? And it's just like, what are we doing here? This feels just like it feels like the Steelers, except they were doing it with a makeshift quarterback doing the same results, and they've been doing it with their franchise quarterback for 8 years straight. So if I'm Cardinals and this is my team, I'm not paying Kyler another penny. And I'm trying to trade him while he still might have some value, and someone still might take him.
Some of them might. And again, it's sort of that definition of an insanity where you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, and you're not getting it. And, you're going to lose these heartbreakers, but you're not demonstrably better than anyone. You put together a lot of these guys, and McBride's good. And maybe it is a better quarterback would be able to lead that ball and string it a bit for Harrison, because it doesn't seem like he has that ability to put a ball out in a string and be able to fish. And it just, Patrick Mahomes used to have that, and look what happened in this game. We go to the late Sunday night game. Ugly game. The Chiefs win 22-9. Russell Wilson has probably the worst red zone decision making I've seen. But it was a close game. It was like tied at 6, and then they get the field goal. It was 9-6 at half. It looked like it was tight. They are able to get the game going. You've got Kelsey yelling at Andy Reid, "You're not invited to my wedding anymore." I don't know if he said that, but it was Mahomes 22 for 37, 224 yards. Cam Scatterbo was good for the Giants. He was able to bash through. Thornton, apparently he's their new number 1 receiver, I guess, 71 yards. But it was mistakes and penalties again. Finally, the refs are not playing. I guess they stopped paying the refs. So, but 22-9, they get their first win.
Yeah, we told you. We were saying, I was like, don't be fooled by Russ. Russ will give you that game where he fools you. It's like 400 yards. Is Russ back? And then the next week he does this. And this was like the easiest prediction in the world. He was terrible. That was one of the worst 4 downs I've ever seen. Hitting the goalpost on 4th. Like the 3rd down was out of bounds. It was just as bad as it gets. And I think, again, I don't even know if Brian Daboll wants the job. Again, now you're going to just, your whole career is now in the hands of Jackson Dart. And you got Neighbors, who's just perpetually pissed off all the time. He was pissed off as a rookie, even when he played well. The guy's never happy. And this is only he's kind of banged up a bit as well. So to me, I don't think this makes much of a difference. I don't know if Jackson Dart will be good. All I know is that he can't be worse. At least it gives Giants fans some hope. He had some moments in the preseason. As long as it gives you a few of those moments, where he extends with his legs and does a great play, and you're like, that's what Russ used to be able to do, which he can't do anymore. Yeah. And that was Russ's whole game. Without that, Russ is not a sit-in-the-pocket passer. He never was. And so, I mean, good luck, Giants. I hope it works because I want Jackson Dart to be good. For the Chiefs, I mean, I think the Chiefs are fine. I don't worry. I think their offense will be fine. They're getting Worthy back. They'll get Rashee Rice back. Their defense is playing better the last couple of games. Again, I don't say playing the Giants Russ means anything. Yeah. To me, the real test is going to be, like you said, this game against Baltimore, which is going to be could be, one of these teams is going 1-3, and we know it got regular season Lamar, who just was unbelievable, and then now but Mahomes just kind of always finds a way to kind of pull this off. So it's going to be a fun game. So, but this was not a fun game.
And we'll talk about the Ravens, who are our final game, the Monday night game, in a 7-sack affair. Whoever said the Lions were done, bite your tongue. The Lions come back, 7 sacks in this one, 38-30. It was punishing. It was a back and forth. It was tied at 14 at the half. It's exciting, but it's 17 points in the 4th quarter that gives the Lions a win. They were all over it. The running game was big. They were pushing the ball. They were pushing them around, and it was a great game to watch. But the Lions were just far too much for them in this game.
Yeah, it was a great game. I think but it's just classic Baltimore, right? Where they're doing everything right. Look at Lamar's stat, 140 rating, 3 touchdowns, 21-27. Look at these stats. You think they won handily, but Derrick Henry again, 4th fumble.
Only
but to
yards,
me, that was a great play by Hutchinson. As much as people oh, Derrick Henry fumbled, I think that was more of a play by Hutchinson. So I don't really blame Henry. I think Lamar, again, caused a lot of these sacks by just dropping back way too far. That 4 down where they had 3 chances with Henry at the 1 and couldn't punch it in, and then Lamar fumbles on 4th was just the fact that a guy like Henry can't get 1 yard is mind-blowing to me, considering what he did to the Bills' D and what he does to lots of defense. But it just showed that play that Detroit did with the on 4th down, where they handed it off to Amon Brown, who then pitched it to Gibbs, was so perfect. It was one of the best 4th play calls I've ever seen. And then Dan Campbell, just 4th and 2, just that little rainbow touch pass by Jared Goff. That is big balls football, and no one does it better than Dan Campbell. Sorry, it kept the team, it's kept its kind of aggressive nature. They're Dan Campbell's team. They're not Ben Johnson's team. They're not Aaron
Yeah.
Gunn's team. And he kind of stamped it with this game. It was a great win by the Lions. And I think they established themselves as Super Bowl contenders again.
Oh yeah, and putting themselves up there is probably the team you want to watch in the NFC now, just because of taking that on the chin and now being able to come back after that loss. So big balls, Randy Marsh style, putting them in the wheelbarrow
That's
and taking
right,
them in.
baby.
So let's get into our week 4 then, as we start with TNF Thursday Night Football, the game everyone wants to see, but no one really does. Seattle 2-1, heading into an Arizona team, also 2-1 divisional matchup here. Arizona 1-point favorites. What the hey now? 43.5 points over under. You look at why is Arizona favored at home, the desperation possibly taking that loss. Maybe Seattle, is not going to be played to their full potential. Is this fair though to slight Seattle when they seem to be the better team in this one, and we haven't really seen Arizona show up, particularly when you've lost a big part of your running game?
Yeah, I mean, that's shocking to me. I think Seattle's clearly the better team. I think, they've got the better defense. It's going to be able to kind of really Marvin Harrison's never had a good game against Seattle. He's played some of his worst football. And I'm just, again, like I said before, I'm just not afraid of Kyler. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid he's going to do out there? Does he run for 7 yards? He doesn't break them off like Lamar does or Josh Allen or any of the running quarterbacks. I'm going with Seattle. I think they're going to handle this. I don't think it's necessarily going to be that close, but so I'm going to go 27-20. I'll go 27-21 for Seattle. I just think across the board they got better offensive players. They got a better quarterback. They got a better defense. They got a better coach. So to me, I'm going with the side that has all those against the phoniest two-win team in the league.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on this one. I've got it 23-18 in this one. I just really like Seattle. I think the running game is good. I think Sam Darnold is playing. He's leading this team. And Smith and Jigba just has this separation, and he can just keep feeding this guy the ball. So I like Seattle in this one. I think that this is one that they want. They know they can take the division. They go 3-1 with this one. We both agree. Folks, what are you doing on Sunday, October the 12th? We're going to have an NFL in London party at the Nordic Bar. We'll be putting some tickets up if you want. That's the game where it's Denver versus New York Jets, and you're like, what are we going to do afterwards? Well, we've got a small little affair going on in the back room at the Nordic Bar. There's 5 TVs, great bar, great food. Make sure you join us for that one. We'll be putting tickets on sale for that. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone, this week. Ryan and I'll be back to do our final week 4 predictions, and everyone enjoy Thursday Night Football. If you're staying up, enjoy the game.